Boom. Check it out. Check it out. I figured out two new things. The first new thing is the starting soon screen. I think it's cool. I like it. That's the first new thing. And the second new thing is I figured out how OBS works in studio mode. So now I can like schedule a transition and I can do this. Boom. Wow, check it out. It's Krita. It's the program. I forgot to actually save what I'm gonna be doing before starting, so just quickly create a file for this. Yeah, sure, it's gonna be 201. That's right. Boom. It's been a while. I forgot how to stream in the meantime, unfortunately. It's really unlucky. I've like been really busy. You know what? Screw this. I'm gonna post a thing. I'm gonna post link. What is that? I'm not interested in that. Yeah, I'm gonna put in tags. Why not? Streaming, hashtag live, hashtag, etc, etc. Boom. Nobody watches these anyway, so it's fine. Alright, color experiments. Right, so something I figured out recently was that when you actually play with color, you get the feel of a scene very much. Oh, hi Hunter, hello. Thanks for reminding me that I have a stream button. I legitimately forgot. Not even a joke. Not even a joke. That's literally what happened. I've made myself busy to the point where I forgot that streaming is a thing. And I used to do that at some point. Anyway, colors. That's right. Recently I figured out that you get the feel of a scene much faster if you start with start with colors and then work your way to a sketch later. And I don't know if I'll be able to demonstrate it just ad hoc, but we'll try and figure something out in a way that makes any sense. So I had like this idea. I was thinking, what am I gonna draw? I have no ideas. I'm literally empty. No brain cells. Everything's disabled. It's not possible. And then I had like a spectacular thought, and I figured out, yes, I'm gonna do this. So this is what I'm doing. It's kind of piggybacking of a thing I've did before. I've did. Yeah, good English. It's all coming back. The memories of streaming. That's what I used to do. I used to mispronounce words in English all the time for the amusement of all listeners. I promise this mess of blobs will start to make sense in a moment. Or maybe it won't actually. I got no clue. But basically the point is, like, by scattering stuff like this, it starts building like a feel for a scene, and it is much closer in terms of feel to what the final product is going to approximately be. Should be getting these on the same layer actually, cause the point is I want to have like a little bridge in the middle. That's the main setup of this. Now the idea is that I'd like to make this feel a certain way without actually, you know, drawing all the things. So like, it's basically cheaper. It's a way to more cheaply iterate. And I'm sure this is not, you know, this is reinventing the wheel, because there's no way I'm the first guy to think about this. That would be like a ridiculous assumption. But the basic idea is that you wanna figure out your scene and draw it in a way that has the colors that the final picture is going to have, like vaguely, especially in terms of values. So like what is gonna be light, what's gonna be dark, and then where the light and dark are gonna be. And then through that you get a better feel for the scene, and through getting a better feel for the scene you can more quickly figure out if it looks like what you want it to look like or if it's a problem. That's like the basic premise. Like this is a mess, but you can already kind of see that it has something in it. Like these I don't know if you can see it. Maybe I'm just going schizo. Thinking about that again. Because no, there's some merit to this. Back me up here. Back me up. You can kind of tell that something's happening here. A real blobber hours. A big blobber. It's a video game called The Blob, and I'm only vaguely aware of it because I've heard of it. I've heard like people talk about the video game The Blob. I've never actually played it nor seen really any gameplay footage, but I thought I'd mention it because it seems somewhat important. For whatever reason, it appears important. So be informed of the video game The Blob. You're now in knowledge, in the know, in the blob. This is too saturated, the green. So like, in the meantime, I've managed to figure out that I can in fact be doing more things, and then I was doing a lot of these things. And so that's basically the short story of why there's not been a stream for 10 million years. It's because I've just forgot. I just forgot I was doing things, and I forgot I can stream. Which I already said, but I think that is also tradition for me to just say that over and over again. What do I think of RTS games? I've like never played any. It's like not my type of game at all. Although, to be fair, I haven't tried, so it's kind of unfair to be saying that it's not my type of game without trying them. However, the problem, and maybe these days I'd be better at it, but I'm horrendous at managing stuff, especially under like pressure. It's like real time. If I have to like make decisions and like they are important and they can have like consequences, etc. I'm gonna have a hard time. I'm not built for that. I'm learning it. I'm like getting better over time, but it's a long road to being able to actually, you know, making competent decisions at an accelerated pace. Although, you know, my working on learning StarCraft considered skill building. I mean, you know, I'm not gonna knock it, definitely, because I've been learning Minecraft speedrunning. Like, and that is basically that kind of thinking as well, in there, where you want to be, like, where you actually want to be able to make a lot of good decisions quickly, and then stick with them and improvise. If they, like, something about them doesn't work, you improvise a solution on the fly. And I kind of figured, like, that's gonna be, something that's gonna be, like, helpful to me in general. To just put myself in some situations where, you know, where there's decisions to be made quickly, and then, you know, fail enough times so that I'm used to it, and it no longer has the same impact, and there's, like, less panic, because because I've noticed I would get really stressed out over, like, very trivial things, as long as they were, like, have a, like, time pressure on them, like a time-sensitive something. And I need to, like, make decisions and, like, manage. I end up communicating, like, cluttering comms effectively. And just generally being a mess. And I figured, hey, like, any kind of operation anyone would want to run with me, and any kind of operation I would like to run, I don't wanna be like that. I don't wanna be cringe. And so, because I didn't want to be cringe, I figured, hey, what's the most autistic way possible to solve this problem? And I was like, yes, Minecraft speedrunning, and that's how it went. 1925 colorized, something like that. Okay, so like, currently, I think you can start to see maybe what I'm getting at with this, like the picture. Because there's already a feel in here that I already kind of like. And there's basically like no, like there's a little bit of shape defining here, of course, going on. And I think the actual trees I started with, like the intense colors here, I think that's too harsh, like this deep green. Get rid of that. I should probably already split this into layers, so it's a little easier to work with, because currently it's all on one layer, and that is obviously going to be a little bit difficult to handle, but thankfully, because I draw everything with a pixelated brush, I can just select similar colors, and because they are all pixelated, it doesn't matter, it's just gonna select all of them. It's truly wonderful. Where's the tool though? Here. That's right, I remember how to explode, perhaps. Let's see. Select this layer, I think is going to be easier. Actually, there's a tool that just does everything for me, so I'm just going to do that instead. We can split this into one layer, and then you into an... wrong. You into another layer, and then you into another layer. Boom. This is like bridge, this is not bridge, and this is not bridge, but closer to the viewer. I think I like my naming strategy here. It's going pretty well. Okay, so figure out these like blobs. I don't want them to be like that messy. Messi mentioned the football player? Yeah, right. Like this is missing a bunch of planes. So like this like light green, I think should be the very last layer you see before like the fog in the background. It's that kind of deal. So then on top of that, I'd like at least one. This is too green, but like darker, maybe like this. I've drawn similar things before. Like I realize that this is not entirely, you know, original, brand new, but honestly, if I'm experimenting with some new style and idea and just trying it out, it actually helps to be a little familiar with what I'm actually doing. So I'm not gonna knock the I'm not gonna knock myself too hard for it. Because just this is how it is. You just you have some ideas and then you like expand on the ideas. Do I speak like a Zoomer in Polish too? I don't know, do I speak like a Zoomer? Usually when I hear Zoomer speak, I like entirely... I feel like an alien. I'm not up to speed on all the internet lingo, or rather like Zoomer lingo. Although I guess my type of humor is probably very zoomery, I'd assume. I don't even know what Polish zoomers sound like. I know that a lot of like there's just one-to-one adoptions from just English. That's what I'm like aware of, basically. Not much else in those terms. Check it. Maybe like a little rock formation, maybe like a rock here, like sticking out also. Not sure if this is any good, actually. Whatever, I'm like too focused on the shapes of this, where I should be, you know, return to blob. Not to monkey, but to blob. That's probably a trick question, now that I think about it a second time. It's like, have you stopped beating the kittens locked in your basement? Something like that. Yeah, a little bit of a trick question to trip the person that you're asking it to. That's what I think that was. I might have fallen for it, to be honest. I'm not exactly known for being, as previously mentioned, not exactly known for being great at thinking on my feet. It's alright. Thankfully, I have other qualities like unbridled autism that help me, you know, just figure things out. Okay. So, in terms of very fun and interesting topics, I've been looking into Polish construction law, and can you believe it when I say that it just absolutely blows? I mean, there's like so much. There's so much that, you know, you want to build a building on your own land using your own money, and you are gonna live in it. It's like, hey, here's like a whole gigantic, you know, gigantic pile of legislation that you have to comply with. Including stuff like how many parking spots you need to have on your, you know, on your own house, like in front of your own house, and how much distance there needs to be between your windows and the parking spots. Because for some reason that is something that has to be in there, you know. We just have to regulate this on like on the country level. Like we just need that. It has to be like that. It is important for you to have 2 parking spots on your property. You just, you know, what if somebody wants to park there and there's no second parking spot because you took one with your car? Like you're gonna do something evil. Like your neighbor's house is gonna fall over and explode probably as well from that. Lamar, yes, I believe that. Yeah, I thought, I figured you'd probably have not much trouble, because I've heard that in America you've got like homeowners association, the HOA. I don't know how you'd even say that, but that's like the equivalent, but it's not actually legislation. It's just like locally people, like a union, but for housing. Well, like, I guess unlucky you have a house here, you're now going to comply with these 10 million rules or get out of the neighborhood, something like that. It's like you don't get to choose, which also blows, as far as I'm concerned. It's like, listen, like, I get it, you know, you have like natural gas pipes going into your house. Okay, like, I get having a little bit of legislation, you know, to make sure that your neighbor's house doesn't explode in a fiery inferno and consume like half the town with it. Like, I understand, you know, there's you can win me over. You can convince me that in fact we shouldn't probably let people just explode their house and other houses like in the vicinity. Like, I get it, a little bit of legislation, okay, like, I understand, you know, other like fire risks, etc. It's like, you know, have certain materials, maybe like don't build your house out of straw, because then you know, like, there's one lightning strike or like something happens and suddenly your house is a torch that just ignites other buildings, and maybe we don't want that. Like, okay, but then, like, you know, why can't I just make my door to my house a little less wide than the law requires? Like, why? Why exactly does that even need to be a thing? Like, if I'm too fat to fit in my thin door that I made, that's my problem, right? Because I can't get into my house. Like, it doesn't affect my neighbor that I can't walk into my house unless I guess I'm gonna squat on his doorstep or something. HOA is a housing union? Never thought about it like that. I don't know, it seems fairly natural to think of it like that, because from what I understand of unions, that is exactly what the unions do as well. It's like the same idea. It's like, I don't know, I should be loving unions, etc., workers fighting for the rights, etc., etc., but I'm of the humble opinion that you should probably just go work somewhere else, to be honest. Like, negotiate for a raise, but like at the point where you start negotiating being paid for not working, that's why I kind of am like, huh. You know, looking at it from the other side, from the side of the guy that would perhaps like to run a business and would like to, you know, make money and support a family and all that stupid jazz that nobody cares about. Like, perhaps, hear me out, perhaps, in order for me to pay you money, I need to make the money first, right? Like, it's important. You know, imagine like a $5 bill, right? And now imagine that you are getting the $5 bill, I hand it to you, and it's like, in order to hand you that $5, like, I need to get it from somewhere, right? And it's like, the thing is, like, you make a thing, I sell the thing, I get money for it, I hand you back money, right? So, like, imagine if you don't hand me the thing, I don't sell it, I don't have the $5, and therefore I am handing you an empty hand. It's literally Jova. I know the issue is more complicated than that, blah blah blah, but it's funny to think about it like that. So I am very much of the opinion that we should just do things the most funny way, because that is just the most funny, and that is just the best idea. Because if something's funny, then nothing else really matters, I think. Is this like big vertical thing no. I've decided against the big vertical thing. Although I would like some kind of something in the foreground, like, I don't know, a random cable. Because having like a thing going from the foreground to the background, I found, is a pretty good way to like establish some. Like, this doesn't have to make, like, this doesn't make any sense, of course, to be here, but if you look at it, it has a little bit of, adds a little bit of depth, because there's suddenly the separate layers are actually connected a little bit. So it, like, makes sense to do it that way. But you see the idea? Like, it's like, I've not sketched anything. I had no idea what the geometry is going to be, but I'm kind of figuring it out as I go along. By just like carving the little blobs into something. It's a very different approach to what I usually do, because it fits with the theme of you know, overthinking versus like thinking ad hoc. It's like the sketching method I usually do is like very pre-planned and very like, oh, I am, you know, I wanna get a good idea of what I'm doing and like sketch it out and work it out before I start. And this is a lot more, it's like, okay, let's go for something that feels a certain way, and then based on what happens, I just like kind of go in that direction and like continue, or just do not continue. Okay, I don't want this to have a bottom that visible. That's the thing. I don't like this at all, actually. Maybe have a little bit of like that, and then whoops. Carve a little hole in the side of this. I could add little mushrooms somewhere in here. Like, it could happen, because this looks kind of like a mushroom and reminded me that mushrooms exist. This looks like a guy. In fact, this looks too much like a guy. We need to make sure it doesn't look like a guy, because there's not supposed to be a guy there. There's supposed to be a guy like on the bridge or somewhere. I had an idea for that, I promise. We'll get there, maybe. If I don't forget. It's like, okay, we've got the scene laid out, kind of, in a way. You could call this laid out. Whoops, I forgot that there's a hole. Okay, so maybe, just maybe, actually throw this onto another layer as well, instead of being surprised 5 times in a row. Boom. New layer, thank you. Boom, and then we just grab you. And then can I fill the entire layer with that? That works. What is this? Fill a continuous region. Fill the entire canvas. Yeah, thanks. Boom. Wonderful. How has it already been 25 minutes? That's like stupid. Time flies when you're having colors. Boom. This looks really flat without the additional... Like, this layer makes such a big difference. Surprising, honestly. This is like slightly off-center, because the center is here. But, we take this, and we like, erase it a little bit. Maybe like have a wide tree in the background or something, so that this is more interesting, and then like create these holes in the layers so that the further layers can show through, and that gives the whole thing a little bit of additional depth. Just make sure it isn't like stupid looking, you know, something like this, and then make a hole in this. Make a hole. Oh, I didn't actually make a hole. I just drew with another color on that. Okay, like look, pretty nice. But this needs a little bit of a hole. What am I doing? Why are we painting on the completely wrong layer over and over again? Wake up. Wake up. I mean, ironic, because it is like 11. I'm on the... What is this? What layer is this on? This? Why? Awful. Complete mistake. Okay, boom. Something like this, yeah, and then I'd like... Yeah, I'd like this to be visible like this. Joe Biden. Wake up. I heard that guy got cancer, by the way. That's unlucky. That's unfortunate. F's in the chat. Corn Pop finally got it. I don't know. It's unfortunate. We'll never get to know. Do we like have like little trees down there? What if like gigantic vines? Because you know, those are always nice to have. I feel like there's one layer missing between like this foreground, and the foreground generally could use a little bit of moving. Like move it off to the side slightly. That's what I'm thinking. Like this, but we shift it here and we like fill in the gaps. I like originally started to do that, but then I like cancelled. Unlucky times 2. Oh wow. I've gotten into the habit, like into the habit of saying unlucky a lot. And I fear a little bit that I'm going to say that at a very inappropriate time on accident. Because it's just going to be a... Because I'm used to just spouting dark humor, etc. And like generally treating matters, like not lightly, but generally joking around. I just prefer to handle things that way. I find it better to actually joke about things than to take everything like deadly seriously. But that has the side effect of just, if you meet the wrong person, then you might come off like the worst human being on the planet. Like somebody says something, it's like you just hit them with the unlucky, and then you realize like, whoops, hold on, maybe that is not necessarily the thing I should have said. Perhaps there was a more diplomatic way out of the situation, perhaps. But alas, sometimes it just happens. Sometimes you just get unlucky while saying unlucky. That's just unlucky. L plus ratio. Dude, I'm sorry. I'm feeling down because like my grandpa died, and I was just at the funeral. It's like L, lol. Look at this guy with his dead grandpa, Lamao, moron. Get a more resilient grandpa next time. Like when you're at the grandpa store, pick a better option. Come on. Like this guy barely lasted like didn't even last a full century. What is that? You like probably never get talked to again after insulting the grandpa like that. But you know it was worth it because that grandpa was like really bad anyway. Like clearly low quality grandpa if he just dies like that. That is a skill issue, in fact. Grandpa skill issue. I'm thinking this is basically shouldn't be here at all. We like have that tree. We have like something sticking out here maybe. Like this, and then there's like a whole layer that is going to be inserted in the middle. Yeah, this is decent, I feel. But is it objectively decent, huh? Have you thought about that? Have you questioned whether or not this is objectively decent, or if it's just my opinion? Let's be honest, you have too much social anxiety to talk to anyone, that's true. I have in fact never stepped foot outside of my house because of crippling social anxiety. It's in fact so bad that the only human interaction I ever get is through streaming. It's like reverse parasocial relationships where you just instead of watching streamers you stream and you get your parasocial stuff that way, you know. Something like that. Okay, like this is the missing layer, like somewhere too light, like somewhere in between these two colors. I like the idea of there being something like maybe diagonal, maybe like a log. Like maybe something like this. This looks weird, but that's the idea. And maybe you could even like connect it with something else here, like that just fell and broke. That makes a little bit of sense, maybe. Like all the way from here, it just is a very big tree and it somehow like got flipped and went all the way up. Like that makes no sense actually. Never mind. Cancelled on Twitter. Okay, how about... Like, of course, one thing I could do always to introduce a little bit of additional depth would be to just start connecting the layers in a bit, but what if this was like a big mushroom and it just like completely messed with the composition of the image? Actually, it kind of doesn't. Like it's, of course, that's like over exaggerated, but what if I like make it like a little bell shaped, the bell curve mushroom? This is not too bad actually. We could have some massive mushrooms. Massive mushrooms, like fantasy, is perfect. And then like have just another. This fits. This fits actually more than expected, to be honest. And we can maybe have some like big mushrooms here as well, because we just decorate the premises like random stuff. No, this makes sense. This makes sense and looks decent. I like this scene. Like, there's nothing in it, really. I guess that's a lie. Like, you couldn't look at this and say there's nothing in it, because there's clearly things. Like, there's outlines. But that's the basic idea slash method, right? It's like there's no sketch. I just start with this kind of just colors, and then I figure out, it's like, okay, Now, do I want to put a sketch on top of this? Because, one, this looks very nice with the flat colors, as is. But then, what I could do is I could, like, actually sketch, like, a character, maybe, somewhere in here. Like, maybe walking, like some guy walking here. Like, you know, he's just walking, he's just chilling. Whoa, wow, look, there's a guy, and we give him a hat. A wizard hat. It's a wizard hat. Okay. Whoa, accidentally nuked him out of existence by using too big a brush. That's fine. We'll get him a bent wizard hat. And then instead of this boring stuff, we give him a beard. It's like too big. It's not fitting, but we'll figure it out, like iteratively. Like give him a nice cape, I think. And make him walk like a little bit. Give him a nice wizardly beard, right? And then have a hat, of course, because a wizard hat is a necessity when you're drawing a wizard. No, he doesn't look like he's walking really, because I like kind of overcooked with the proportions, I think. And I think the hat shouldn't be this way. It should be like maybe like this. Something. Question mark? I like the idea of this just being a silhouette, or however you pronounce that. This looks weird. Because the hat's too big. Check it. Maybe we'll make him stand instead. Like, this is too big. Like, this is disproportionate, because it makes the forest look smaller, and that's not the idea. You gotta make him, like, appropriately small. Pay no attention, this is how you actually do things. You just trial and error until it works. Why learn when you can trial and error? Is my MO or motto, whatever. That's what I do. I just figure things out as I go along. Maybe not make his hat like completely. What's your current topic? There's no topic. I got lost in the source in the meantime. I was talking about stuff. I don't even remember what I was talking about. I've been kind of absorbed into just drawing, to be honest. I'm gonna be real. However, back on the topic of legislation, that's not even it. Like the thing, because one thing is you have to kind of look into the like construction laws, but then it turns out there's like a second set of construction laws effectively that's been made by the executive branch. The current 3 question marks topic. Oh, my current 3 question marks topic, like topic I'm thinking about, like autism topic, that kind of, like, that, I see what you mean. You want to get to the good stuff, you want to get to the autisming part of the stream. I'll figure something out. I've chilled out on the autism through getting so autistic, it like wrapped all the way back around. That's what I feel like. Because my 3 question marks topic is it's like a very basic observation on one hand, because it's like, oh, everybody has their own perspective and like sees the world subjectively, blah 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 blah. Like everybody's had that take, right? But it does lead to It's like my question mark, my 3 question marks topic, like based on that, is kind of how the hell did we even like manage to have anything in common in the first place? Because that is kind of incredible, considering just how many different ways to see things there are and how many different ideas people have. Like, and the thing is, it's like in terms of actually talking to people, it's interesting because you look at it from a, if you want to be like good faith about certain things, and I do not know how I'll put it fully yet, but if you want to be good faith about certain things, you want to give people the benefit of the doubt, and you want to figure out what they think, and you want to, like, you know, get a perspective that represents this to the best of your ability. And at the kind of end of that, you, at least that's what I found, it's like you when doing that, you end up where the person's base assumptions are. And I don't remember if I've mentioned this. Maybe I think I have, because I already talked about this. But it's like you find the base assumption that the person has, because you're just in the process of trying to understand them and like get to the actual position. You just, that's where you end up, because that's where the position actually comes from. Like, the position comes from some kind of base assumption about the world that they have underneath it, and that, you know, bubbles up to the opinion they have. It's like very abstract, I realize, but then the question for me becomes, it's like, okay, how do we talk about this base assumption, right? It's like, can we somehow steer it onto the topic of the base assumption? Can we get to, can we like explore and ask a question about that? It's like, what do you think? And a lot of people just don't actually, like, are completely unable to get there, which is, I think, pretty normal. Like, it's pretty normal for this to be hard to get into with people, because it's very base level, and when things are very base level, then people feel very threatened when you like go there, because of course, you know, if something's base level, that means there's other things built on top of it, and then if there's other things built on top of it, then you are asking questions about things that, if the person were to change, it would change their entire life effectively. Or it's like, I think that's why it feels dangerous to touch these topics. So like, through that, it's like, it's very hard to actually get there, and it's very easy for people to kind of go off and get lost in the like base assumption. People don't, yeah, exactly, that's what I was trying to formulate. People don't understand their own base assumptions. It's exactly that. And people don't, and it's not even that they don't understand them, they don't even realize they are making assumptions a lot of the time. That's the like, there's something that I find interesting about, you know, faith, because if you have faith, and if you do choose faith, as in you've made the conscious decision, and that's the path in life you've chosen to follow, and that is like, kind of, you just openly say, yeah, the source of my values is just what God says, right? Like that's your idea for life. Then you have the base assumption very clearly spelled out. Like, you just said it. You just said it out loud. You know it's faith-based. Like, there's no question about it. There's no, like, murkiness. It's just, yeah, that's what I choose to believe. Is like the base. That's the base. I choose to believe this. And then, a lot of the time, if people don't have that, they just assume, and the assumption is baked in, that what they think and how they see and perceive the world is just the objective. It's like, no, because this is base facts, when in fact it's not. because there's no, like, value judgment is not objective fact. Like any kind of framework, because to have a value judgment, you have to have some sort of framework. And when you get that sort of framework, you end up with, like, picking that framework over another framework is effectively arbitrary. It's like you don't really have a good answer for why this is objectively the best, because any kind of answer you formulate for why that is could be used to then say that, oh, this, what was the reason for that? And then ultimately you end up on, it's just faith. Like, I just believe it should be that way. That's my current three question marks topic. It's like, it's very interesting because I find that the conversations, like the best conversations you actually can have, and the kind of where you actually go and try and understand something and like actually understand and interact with a different perspective, it's usually with people who understand this in a way, who are actually aware that, you know, oh, I do have some kind of, yes, I do have base assumptions, and it's like we all actually have these, and how do we square that circle in a way? How do we communicate despite that, and how do we like understand each other despite having all these different things about how we view and approach the world? And it's like, if somebody can grasp that, then there's a high likelihood if you have a conversation, it's going to be fairly productive. Because as long as they don't get too angry, of course. But usually when people actually are aware of that, they usually also have a certain degree of like emotional control over how they react to what you say. So you can actually say certain things without making sure that it's the most perfect and clean message you've ever said in your entire life. Agrippa's dilemma. Sure, I'll look it up. The meaning of life. Wow. Very big topic. The meaning... No, that's Bruce Lee. Where... The trilemma. What? Is it possible to prove any truth? We're in the biggest autism of all autisms, as in what is good and how do we know it, but it do be like that. It do be boiling down to just effectively that. Because you have to base it on something, in a way. Like, if you don't consciously base it on something, if you don't consciously choose something to be that base, you effectively just default to whatever was there prior, but in the way that we understood it, we understand it at the moment. I think that's a problem that a lot of people, like, we're discovering that problem very kind of strongly. Oh, it's trilemma. You even said trilemma. I'm stupid. I can't read my why circular reasoning, infinite regress, or axiomatic statements. Yeah, that's basically the idea. It seems like you end up there very quickly. Whenever you like start thinking, you just you run into the same philosophical problems. These guys, like all these philosophers, just run into the same problems at some point. It seems like fairly natural, like in the process of thinking about things, you would end up there, which makes sense, I guess, because they were thinking about things and that's how they ended up there. So, like, I don't know, sue me for copyright infringement? ? So yeah, if you don't actually choose these base assumptions carefully and you actually are not aware, then you just default to however at the moment you understand what was there before, and you kind of fall back on And you fall back on the current thing, I think. That's where the current thing-ism comes from. I think that's it. When you just don't have anything else, you end up with the current thing, and then, you know, whatever is the consensus, or whatever you perceive to be the consensus, is what you actually believe. Wait, this is better if he's like this. It's on the bridge, and you can kind of see that. And then just have like the little corner of it sticking out. This is not bad. This is not bad for an hour. 50 minutes. Ugh. Okay, but how do we ruin it? Like, to a horrible extent. How do we absolutely destroy this idea? What could I add to this? It's pretty good as is, to be honest. Like, I might even throw this up as my wallpaper, because I just like it. But how do we know the drawing's good? It's interesting because if you want to find a problem that is just forever question mark, explorable question mark, you've got the definition of art. And I feel that that is also an example of the same problem. It's like, if you don't actually have a definition, if you don't distinguish between, if you don't have some kind of criteria and some kind of distinguishment, it's like, regardless of whether or not, you know, it can be enjoyed, you can draw value out of it, it expresses something, etc., etc. I do like the definition of art as the pursuit of beauty, because with that definition, you actually have a way to distinguish art from not art. And it's not even that this distinction is like super mega particularly important, but it is important to have a definition, because if you don't pick a definition, you end up with no definition. And when you end up with no definition, you effectively just don't know the thing. Like, the thing doesn't really exist. It's not that it doesn't really exist, but it's like, when you don't have a definition, it's like any and all things fit the bill. It's like, you can't distinguish, you can't, like, the term becomes meaningless, because if the term means everything, then, well, it doesn't carry any meaning. Like, it doesn't, the whole point of having definitions is to, you know, distinguish some things from other things. You define things to be, you know, distinguishable and to be different. You separate one thing from another so that you can call the first thing one thing, and then you can call the second thing another thing. It's an interesting parallel with what's it called, Genesis as well here. So like, that's the whole point of having these definitions and having the distinctions and then having words to refer to them, is in order to separate these concepts and in fact to be able to think. And so when you don't have a definition, you have a definition that is effectively useless because it encompasses literally everything, then you end up with a term that's like, you can't possibly think about the thing. And it's interesting because I find the endless debate about the definition of art to be like extremely useless, effectively, because what's the purpose of using, you know, words and definitions? It's to communicate ideas, and then why do we communicate ideas? We communicate ideas to, you know, to like get together with other people and to work together and to solve problems effectively. That's why we do all of that. And so if you have a term that you just continuously fight over the definition of, it's like, why do we care about this definition? It's like, why is it so important that the definition of art means literally everything and anything is art? It's like, what's the actual point and benefit from this discussion? It's like, what does the if you wanna ask the meta question, what does the definition of art I lost it. I had like a clever point. It's like, what's the meaning of the definition of art? There you go. It's like, what are we trying? Because the thing that we are trying, like usually these discussions actually are about, is like, what do we assign prestige to? I think is what the like squabbles about the definition of art, the reason why they are heated, and then people are actually interested in them, is because people have a general like preconceived notion that art is valuable, and so therefore the argument about the definition of art effectively is an argument about, is this thing valuable or not? And then it's a big deal to people because they find certain things valuable, and they don't want other people to devalue them by calling them not art. It's like, but you're not actually arguing about the definition in that case. But once again, this is like a base assumption that people have made, where the base assumption is that the definition of art is important in and of itself, and then from that, like, everything else just follows and is kind of a disaster, because we are actually talking about a different issue than the words that we are using describes, and that is generally a recipe for disaster. What is a woman? Indeed. It's like, it very quickly falls back to the, like, a circular argument or whatever, and then once again, it's like, okay, so then what's the point of this definition? What's the purpose of this definition? Why are we actually using it? What value does having this definition bring, and how can you actually have this definition in a way that preserves that value, right? Because that's the general idea why you would want to use words carefully, and you want to actually make sure that what you are saying has the meaning that it should have, and you speak properly in a way, is because there's a lot of benefit to having precise language. This is something that's very visible when you work on projects and you communicate with people about things that are, you could say, mission critical, etc. It's like, very quickly becomes clear that if you don't have a shared language, if you don't have the same thing in your, if you don't actually have the words that you are saying refer to the same thing that, you say a word, and if it doesn't actually make the same idea appear in the other person's head as is in your head, then the word, then this is a problem. Because each layer of translation that you kind of have to figure out on the fly and like connect together and like understand, oh, it's like, when he says this, he means that. Every layer of that is one layer of complexity. You have to process the layer of complexity, but you have to spend it, instead of solving the problem, you spend all this effort that is required, you spend it on internal communications. And that means your internal communications becomes effectively a problem you also need to solve, instead of a tool to help solve the problem that you are actually already trying to solve. It's like, you're making additional problems that wouldn't be problems if we just could communicate clearly and use words that, have definitions. And I think that's something that people don't think about, like, almost at all. generally. Like you don't... It's like, why can't we call it this thing? And it's very similar with like a lot of similar things. Like, why can't we just do X? It's like, well, you can, technically. Like, you could use the completely wrong words for certain things. Like, you could completely swap your vocabulary out. You could do all of these things. Like, it's possible. It's physically possible, and like, the universe isn't going to immediately... God isn't going to send lightning after you, and you will just explode on the spot if you don't use the correct definitions. However, is it good? Right? It's like... that's another base assumption people have very often. It's like... It's not... Like, realize that harm reduction is just one way of looking at morality, and it's not... Like, it's not really either maybe it's the default, like, people fall back onto it, but it's just... It's a very simple model, and it doesn't actually... like, for a bunch of cases, it doesn't actually lead to the best outcome, necessarily. Because when you just do harm reduction, you are ignoring a bunch of things that... Like, even if you wanted to follow through on harm reduction, you would very quickly get into wider philosophical problems, which is, like, harm reduction over a long time period. It's like, okay, but you can reduce harm for now, or you can introduce harm now, so that in the future there's less harm in total. And then, the question becomes, like, oh, but what do I do then? What do we do? Like, who decides, etc., and what's the criterion? What's the criteria? And then you very quickly leave just harm reduction, and you have a lot more actual things to consider. It's like, it's the same here. It's well, it's not just, oh, does it do harm if we like do this one thing, but also what actual good is there from me doing this thing? What actual benefit and value happens when I do this? And then if the answer is just it doesn't, there's no value, it just, I'm just doing it for the question mark. It's like, okay, then that's your answer, right? You don't... Like, you're doing something that doesn't actually have a benefit. You're expanding effort on things that could be done. You could be expanding that effort on something that's actually good and productive. And also, you're making, like, other people that are using, for example, that word are now going to have a problem because you are just negligent. And language is something that we have in common. Like, language is a common good. And in order for it to be useful, you actually need people to uphold the language, because the language to be useful needs to be common. I need to be able to say a word, and you need to be to understand what I'm actually like saying in terms of meaning. So then, if a lot of people fail to maintain and keep up the language, then communication becomes hard, if not impossible. Because you just have a bunch of people that, like, literally is a word that has just... People use it so much to mean figuratively that sometimes you would want to say literally, but then you realize that, wait, like, the person that I'm talking to might understand literally as figuratively. And then I'm not gonna be understood in the way that I wanna be understood. It's a whole problem, whole conundrum, and this is why we need common sense definition control. That's right. I'm like not actually introducing anything much better to this drawing, I feel. Maybe? I like this. What if we... Like, my default funny go-to is like, what if we introduced a bunch of ropes to the drawing for no reason? Because I just like how they look. Like, I keep doing this, but it's effective, so... Like, it makes the scene more interesting immediately. Do you get it? I mean, there's already, like, a bridge that's kind of, like, man-made or something. I need to stop saying like. It's a disease that is clearly spreading into my brain. Boom. Okay, yeah, I'm getting real sleepy, so probably gonna cut this stream off in a little tiny bit. But before that happens, let's maybe get it a little further along into a better state. It's not bad. It's not bad. I feel like it's decent. Good chat. Thanks. It's turns out my autism reserve wasn't entirely depleted. Who am I kidding? That's not happening. I'm not depleting my autism reserves. That's not gonna happen. Like, it turns out that these things are just really interesting, and if you get me started and I actually have the topic and like I start talking about it, it just flows. Because it's not like I do have to stop myself sometimes from going down the autism rabbit hole, because there you go, that's another funny topic. This is the last one, I promise. That one thing is analysis and the other thing is synthesis, right? When you take first you take the thing apart, you understand the components, but then the real tricky part is to be able to put it back together. And that is something that I think a lot of people just do not do at all. You have some kind of analysis, some kind of look into... It's like you look into something, you look into... It's like, oh, it's works like this, like people treat it like that, and it has this problem and that problem. And the question at the end of it that should be asked, but often isn't, is, okay, so what do we actually do instead? Like, what's the idea? What do we replace this with? Because, you know, you're critiquing it, and it's like, okay, that's, yeah, it's valid criticism, you know. That's actually, there's problems, yeah, there's problems, we can agree there's problems, like, it's not perfect, blah blah blah. But then the real question at the end of the day is just, okay, but what do we do with it, like, actually? And then if the answer is, I don't know, then the analysis is actually kinda useless. Low-key analysis becomes just useless. For the simple reason that if you just analyze something and you don't synthesize it into anything, you just effectively, you know, you got a bunch of abstraction, but the abstraction is a tool, and the tool is only as useful as you can actually, as the output you get out of the tool, effectively. Well, it has your skill in there as well, but you could argue your skill is also a tool. El Bozo. What amazing and fitting commentary. Commentary. Common whatever. You know what? I'm gonna throw a Liana on this. I just like these, and I feel like it's like a signature. You know, if the drawing doesn't have any lianas, is it really my drawing? No, this doesn't fit. There's like additional detail in a place where there's no detail. But what if we just have a big thing like this? What if we do that? Have you considered? This looks so bad. But what if we had like a rope here? Wouldn't it be funny if we had a rope here? No, it's just clutter. It's just clutter. Okay, anyway, wait, is this mirrored now, or is it not? Oh, this is the... I found myself having this tendency where I draw the entire drawing mirrored, and then I think I'm doing it this way, and it looks like okay, and then the other way, it doesn't look quite right. Let's see. Yeah, I think for a color experiment, this is a pretty good result. Where's the... is it Control 0? No, I swear I bound a keyboard shortcut to reset to fit view with. Wait, no, it's not. Actually, it's on the radial menu, which you can't even see, but yeah, there's... okay. Never mind. Well, I did have something for it anyway. Alright. I think this is gonna be it. Shorter stream, a little hour of drawing. I think it was a pretty good. It was a pretty good. It was a pretty good. A pretty good. A decent, if you wanted to even say it that way. I like this drawing. I'm fairly happy with how it turned out. Might return to this kind of style for a little more, because this is very simple to do. That's also something. I'm wondering, because this is not obviously a full scene, right? If I want, and I know I said I'm going to sleep, and I know I said like I'm ending the stream, but one more thought, maybe. Like, this is obviously not a full drawing in the way that, you know, nothing has a texture and there's not really any shading aside from the Z buffer, effectively. One decent. There you go. Your one decent has been deposited into your account. So it's like not a full drawing, but then if I wanted to turn this into a full drawing, then this kind of sets the scene, and I can maybe adjust from here and actually turn it into something that is shaded and has texture, etc, etc, because it could also look cool. And I think the basis is like, if the thing without any shading and with like not really well defined shapes and with just, you know, the overview actually feels good, then the effort to actually fully shade it and develop the idea is probably more worth it, because, well, you actually are adding to the feels good, as opposed to the drawing where you start with a sketch and you don't actually get a feel for how it feels, because there's no color, and the color actually comes in at the end of the process. And so you end up with whatever, effectively. You just hope it works out, and then I guess shade it again if it doesn't, and if it doesn't feel right, then you don't know. It's like, oh, but now I have to correct the sketch and like reshade everything, and it's a little bit of a nightmare. So this is a much better way to actually work with it. So I'm fairly happy about it. And you know what? I am happy about this screen as well. I'm quite happy about this drawing. And the Sun TM. You know what? That's gonna be that's the parting shot. Oh yeah, and I figured out OBS Studio mode, so now I can like switch between scenes with a cool transition and actually edit them in the background without showing everything I do on the stream. And it's actually really simple. I just never click the one button that lets you do that, the Studio mode button. So yeah, good streamer indeed. All right. Thank you very much for watching, showing up, etc, etc, and reminding me that I am in fact legally allowed to stream, as a very good reminder. Thank you. Good com. And see ya later, whenever I decide to stream again. Bye.